Hello everyone, welcome back to another video where today I want to give you a theory. A theory for Doctor Who Season 1 that I've just come up with. I'll be honest with you. I've been sat here thinking about this series and I've just come up with this theory and I want to share it with you all. I don't know whether this theory has been said before. I don't think it has, to my knowledge. But I honestly think it could make a lot of Season 1 and what we've seen so far of Season 1 make perfect and complete sense. Subscribe if you're new, that would be greatly appreciated. I'm trying to get to 25,000 subscribers by the end of this year, and any support would be greatly appreciated on that front. But with that said, let's get into it. So a common thread in this era so far has kind of been, it's been a little bit meta, hasn't it? You've got Ncuti Gatwa mentioning non-diegetic music, Jinx's various winks to camera, Mrs. Flood also winking to camera saying never seen a TARDIS before. My theory is, essentially, that the entirety of Season 1 takes place in a heightened version of reality that is being basically broadcast as a TV show in and of itself, Truman Show style. And essentially, the ending for this series will end with the villain being one who controls all of reality, making it into some sort of TV show. This explains a few things. For one thing, Mrs. Meredith. Do you know how TV shows will reuse actors when they're running out of money? There you go. She's someone put there in proceedings by whoever this villain is. Let's say, for argument's sake, the one who waits. The winks to camera from Jinx Monsoon and Mrs. Flood, as well as Jinx Monsoon literally playing the Doctor Who title sequence at multiple points. Totally deliberate. Even things like the space babies having Ruby transform into a random alien just for the Doctor to save the butterfly and her go immediately back to normal feels like the sort of thing a Family Guy cutaway gag would do, a non-canon little interjection that we quickly move on from. And what's really sold me on this idea is the trailers, particularly episode 7. The episode's title is The Legend of Ruby Sunday. And what's the main thing we've seen about The Legend of Ruby Sunday? It takes place in a sort of TV or movie studio, and it's full of cameras and lights, and we even see the snow falling in what looks to be a movie studio at multiple points. What if the entire events of Series 14, or at the very least the things that Ruby's involved in, is being put on by someone higher? Basically, in a similar way to something like The Realm of Fiction in the second Doctor's era. What if this entire series is being either heightened or taking place in a heightened sense of reality, or maybe not even reality at all, but for the purposes of entertainment? And I think what adds to this is that every Gatwa episode so far has had at least one moment where it's been meta. And where was the first place we met Ruby Sunday? Wasn't at Carla's house, wasn't on the TARDIS, it was at a TV studio. This could also explain why the TARDIS is playing up, because the TARDIS isn't in its usual environment. We've seen before when the TARDIS is confronted with things beyond it, i.e. the flux, it has a tendency to play up. What if the same thing's happening here? These little threads could tie together to create a finale that involves Doctor Who as a TV show, and the Doctor and Ruby having to escape this fake version of reality, again akin to something like The Truman Show, or even something like Inception perhaps. This would even fit into like Russell's God idea. You've got the toy maker, the music maker, why not the TV/movie maker? And no, I don't mean the editing software. Or take it a step further. We already know there's a set of gods who like to be entertained by lower life forms. The gods of Ragnarok. Their whole deal is getting creatures who they see as lesser to put on shows for them, and if they like them, they keep them around. What if that's what's happening right now? The gods of Ragnarok have already been mentioned. Even things like the dance number. People say, oh, that's random, it doesn't make any sense. What if that's intentional? What if that whole scene being choreographed was by design from some higher being? This is probably completely wrong. However, there is some logic to it, right? We meet Ruby on a TV set, her finale seems to take place on some kind of TV set. There's been multiple references to this being a heightened or fake version of reality as well as TV tropes. It would kind of work. In fact, the giggle, which we see as the reason why all these gods are coming in, how was the giggle originally transmitted through the television? I feel like that guy in that meme who's like putting crazy conspiracy theories on a board. But if this turns out to be right, Russell, give me a job. Give me a job, because I've put all this together, and if it's right, then, my god. This would even explain things like line inconsistencies. Like, for example, the Doctor saying, "Oh yeah, I've mentioned the toy maker before." He hasn't, but that was a cut line from the show, from Church on Ruby Road. And the random 6-month time jump. And Ruby saying, "You never run from things." Maybe it's intentional. You might think that that's outlandish, and maybe that I'm just trying to justify things that don't have a justification. But remember, in the Series 5 episode, The Time of Angels, Flesh and Stone, the 11th Doctor appears with their jacket on, and at that point in the story, the 11th Doctor had had their jacket taken off them by a weeping angel. And everyone at the time said, that's a massive continuity error. This makes it make no sense. But then, we find out, the finale is the future Doctor going back through his own personal timeline. What if the same thing could be said here? What if the little inconsistencies, the little things that don't quite add up, are all part of a bigger picture? And you might say, oh, well, that's a Moffat thing. Moffat did that. Russell T Davies wouldn't necessarily. But the very next episode is Stephen Moffat written. And what's one of the few things we've seen from it? A group of people seemingly being attacked by a TV screen. And who's on the TV screen? Mrs. Meridew. Also, have you noticed that, like, every single Ncuti Gatwa story has, in some way, revolved around old school styles of storytelling? Obviously, with Church on Ruby Road, you've got the element of it being a Christmas story and very It's a Wonderful Life-esque, with Ruby being erased from history and the Doctor having to go back in time to rescue her. The Space Babies not only has the element of children's storytelling, and basically the whole resolution to that being that the bogeyman was constructed by the babies because they need stories, but also the very kind of alien movie-inspired bogeyman, as well as the fact that the Doctor mentions going to visit Star Trek. And I mean, Devil's Chord goes without saying. It's a musical. This is probably completely fan-brained and wrong, but the more I think about it, the more little things start connecting. And now I've started connecting them, I can't stop. I feel like I'm in the Matrix. Like I've just taken one of the tablets and I'm gonna wake up and realise everything's a lie. This is a crazy theory. I don't think it'll be accurate, but I just thought of it and the little pieces just came together in my head in a way that I had to share it with you guys. As you can tell, I'm quite passionate about this idea, and if it turns out to be right, Russell, you owe me £1 million in royalties. Alright, thank you everyone for watching. Be sure to like if you enjoyed this video, comment down below your thoughts, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you later.